to Lounge, Lift, Learn, Real Talk with Black Therapists. I'm Lasaundra.
And I'm Shelby.
Welcome to the Lounge. Welcome to Lounge, Lift, Learn, Real Talk with Black Therapists, where we're having conversations that uplift, inspire, and empower. I'm Lasaundra.
And I'm Shelby.
Welcome to the Lounge. Hey, Shelby.
Hey, girl.
Hey, y'all. Hey, out there in listener land. If you have not tuned into our YouTube channel, please do so and subscribe. We want you to get those alerts. We want you to know that we have a new episode dropping, and we know you're already following us. So if you like the content, share it with the people. Engage with us on Insta and Facebook.
Yes, give us new topics for the next season. We want to know all of your thoughts. So keep it coming. We love to hear your feedback.
Absolutely. So Shelby, what are we talking about today?
Oh, this topic is very personal to me. We are talking about biracial experiences.
Okay.
I know. What's the about?
I like it. It's good. My have lots of meanings. This is good. I like this topic.
It's going to be a good one. But I have to be fully transparent. It's probably the most uncomfortable topic yet for me. And that might sound strange to a lot of people because obviously I am a black, white, biracial individual. And I should be able to talk about my experiences very openly and freely, and I will. However, it feels strange to center the biracial experience. And I say that because I don't want this episode to become something where it's like, boo-hoo, like I'm biracial and it's been so hard. Like I'm not looking for people's empathy in terms of what it's like to have to pick and choose between two races or what, just my experiences are, but rather breaking down some of the ignorance about what it's like to carry two races in your DNA in this way and what it's like to show up in a society that sometimes labels you without your permission. So it's not an episode looking for your sympathy because, to be fair, as a light-skinned individual, as a biracial individual, there are things that I experience that are quite privileged compared to my other, black sisters in the world or, people who are of darker skin. We can get into the privilege conversation or the colorism conversation for sure. And so I just want to be very careful with that.
I hate the fact that you feel the need to do the disclaimer because who you are as you are showing up in this world with the experiences that you have are just as valid as mine. And so the fact that you feel like you can't center the conversation on Shelby and does not, I guess would say, I am not looking for your empathy. I am looking for listeners. I am looking for your empathy. I want us to do better because united we stand. People of color, not black people, people of color, period.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And that is what advocacy and allyism looks like, right? Like that's it right there. And so I appreciate you saying all that. And yet I still feel the same way, right?
that.
So like book two can be true at the same
Absolutely.
time. So this topic is coming to the table because I'm like, oh, this comes up very often for me, and Lasaundra does a great job of challenging me on things and encouraging me to show up in different ways. So here we go.
All right. So let's talk about history.
So
history and biracial. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket science to know where we're going. Like,
where did we come from?
Yeah. Okay. Who was over here in the Americas back in the day? Who was in the Americas?
The Native Americans.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And then some other people came over, and then they brought our people over, and lots of rape, murder, slavery, all the things happened.
Yep.
And so, are there love stories? Absolutely. But are there a lot of tragedy? Absolutely. I would imagine your parents are a love story.
I would hope so. Yeah, they are. They are.
I would assume your mom was like, "Come here, slave husband."
After 5 biracial babies later, it better be a love story,
Absolutely.
right? So I think for me, when I start talking about my biracial experiences and those of biracial individuals around me, I talk about what it feels like to have the blood and the DNA of both the slave and the slave master running through you, right? And that might sound like, all right, girl, you being a little dramatic, but that's where all this kind of began for us in America in particular. And then you watch how history plays out as the years go on. So we go from a 1-drop rule to so with the 1-drop rule, I'm sure the audience might know what it is. You want to break it down for them? Why?
Well, if you got 1 drop of blood, you black. 1 drop of a black person's blood in your body, in your DNA, in your bloodstream. Break it down, because listen, it's a wrap. I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
You got any parts black in you, you're black. And you're not anything else. So it negates the fact that you have this other part of your race that does show up.
Yeah.
I mean, we even think about in the slavery days, we talk about the house slave versus the field slaves. Like, who did y'all think was the house slaves? Most likely some of these biracial, it was master's children, right? Like, so you think about how that, continues to influence us over the years.
Yeah.
And it's bothersome to know that, all of those things have followed us, and that I have to show up and I see, the Black Lives Matter movement, if we want to mention that, and how it's like I'm standing up for this race, but the other race is really disappointing me. And they're both running through my system.
Right.
How do you show up in a world that's so confusing when the 2 major races at conflict in your country are the 2 that you show up to be?
Yeah.
It's awkward.
It is itchy.
Itchy. I don't know if I'm itching or anything like that, but I do feel uncomfortable at times, and also I relate more to my black side too. So sometimes there's moments where I find myself picking and choosing what I feel more of in the moment, and I don't know if I ever feel more white. I think that's the fabric of America, is I'm never like, woo, I'm white over here, let's do this. I've never been white when I call out my identity. It's either biracial, or I'm black, or I'm mixed, but I don't see myself as white in that way.
Has
solely
anybody
white.
ever saw you as white, or do they look at you and see black, or what are you?
Oh God, I hate that question. It comes up all the time.
Bet.
To be completely fair, I'm often seen as like Asian or Hispanic. So nothing that I actually am. But I often, if I have my afro, my curly fro, that going on, I get more recognition as a black individual. Sometimes the curly fro brings on the individual or the biracial discussions and things like that. I've been categorized as white one time. I went into a black club in Chicago with my best friend, who's a caramel skinned woman, and another best friend who's a white woman. And this black male came up to my best friend, the black one, and said, "Ooh, what are you doing here with these 2 white girls?" I almost broke my neck, because I was like, "White? Me? Like me? I'm white." I was surprised and yet disappointed.
Absolutely.
Because now I'm not black enough, and that feels weird.
Which is stupid. But
is.
What is black enough? What is Latin enough? What is white enough? Like, what does that even mean, to be black enough? That's stupid. And I agree with you, because we say that all the time in very degrading ways, right? Like, I'm gonna take your black card because you're not black enough, or you're enunciating your words, so you're not black enough. At the end of the day, why are you black enough? Because your parent black. So you're black enough. Now, do I speak more eloquently than you? Possibly, because I'm educated. However, I'm not doing anything that you can't do. And I can drop my accent. I can drop my eloquism. That's a word, listeners. Eloquism. You don't like it?
Are you saying Ebonics?
No. I don't speak Ebonics.
I got
See what I'm saying?
Yes.
For me to be black enough, I have to speak Ebonics when I make up words.
Oh, I get it.
I'm created in my Father's
The
image.
crazy thing is sometimes I find myself dealing with these double standards
Yes.
within myself.
Yeah.
Not just in society like you're calling out, but I think about like taking a black card or things like that. And my husband would say I'm not qualified to do such things. But I might say it anyways, right?
You completely qualified.
Oh, but my husband, if I would say, oh, you don't eat collard greens, like go ahead and give me your black card. And he'd be like, I don't even know if you can say that. Which makes me feel some type of way, but it's you can come for him when he joins us. Yes. So
I got you.
I hear those pieces, and at the same time, I think about black individuals based on the color of their skin, right? Black individuals who show up in the world and do things that don't support other black individuals, and it's like, well, he ain't black anyways. Well, is he really one of us? And I find myself doing that too, right or wrong, and it's something we should all probably challenge within ourselves too.
I guess black enough for me, because I certainly have done it, right?
Yeah.
It's not because of how you speak, but it's what you speak about, right?
Yes.
So if you are black like me and you don't care about the needs of our people, then you're not black enough.
Right.
I don't care what the color of your skin is. That part doesn't matter to me. It matters about your heart, right? So, sorry.
So is that right?
I mean, is it wrong?
Yeah.
Why is it wrong?
It's wrong because it doesn't, somebody's race doesn't come back to how they show up in the world. You're right. You said it clear. You said it clear as day. So look at your double standard. I'm calling us both out because the world needs to be held accountable.
Absolutely. I can't even argue.
So the idea is if you come from parents who are black, then you are black. And nobody can take that from you. And yet we can say that we're dissatisfied with how you show up in the world.
Right. And to be completely fair, because you know I play the devil's advocate all day. And to be completely fair, I don't know what that individual's childhood was like. Like, for example, what was yours like?
I grew up in an extremely diverse suburb of Chicago, right? So everybody looked mixed, black, white, Hispanic. Like literally, I think my high school was one of the top 5 diverse high schools in the nation.
See?
So I didn't worry about people playing the race card or doing certain things with me or whatever we want to call it because everybody knew what it was. Nobody questioned it.
So that makes me wonder, when culture shock hit you?
Ooh, trigger. Culture shock hit me when I went to my 4-year university. And we just gonna call it out because y'all need to know who you are. I went to the University of Missouri, aka Mizzou, which is, about 6 hours away from here in Little Mid-Missouri. And I realized that people only saw me as different or other or black. And I had no problem being black, but it was just the labels and being treated differently for being a black individual. Yeah. And I think that has more to do anything than just the culture of the South in that way versus me being biracial though. But it was a culture shock of race. Race is a thing.
Absolutely. But it also then is it sounds like other people identifying you versus you being able to identify you.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, who I am is who I am. You don't get to define me for me.
So when you go down to one of those schools and people look at you, and it sounds so crazy, y'all, for people to look at you and say, what are you? And oftentimes I'll just look and say, what do you mean by that? Like, I'm a student, like I'm a woman, or I'm a human. Like, I spit it back at them in a way that's kind of like, I'm all of these things. Say it with your chest. Like, if you want to know if I'm black or white or what race, say it with your chest.
Say it with your chest.
And they don't, because they're beating around the bush because America doesn't make racial conversations very comfortable. So they don't. So what are you? And I do try to challenge it. And then when they get down to it, it's like, well, I'm mixed. Mixed with what? Blah, and it's just like a whole thing. It's exhausting.
It is. And sometimes you just want to be a complete smart aleck. Like, I'm a transmission.
Ooh.
Like, just stupid stuff. Like, what are you? A transmission. And just hold the face.
Y'all should feel uncomfortable because that's what it feels like.
What are you?
That's the point. What are you?
It's so rude though. Like, and to be transparent, I have walked up and been in space with people that I couldn't look at them and go, oh, they're black, they're white, they're Asian. I could not identify. And I was like, my God, they are gorgeous, but I have no idea what they are. And still, is it ignorant to ask? Is there ever a way that someone could respectfully, for me and all of our listeners, to ask that question?
I mean, I don't think I've ever thought about it too much. The reality, my experience has been, as a mixed person, I've not been uncomfortable asking somebody else that question. And I think it's like, well, we relate to each other, we get it. It feels weird when it comes from somebody who is not of like mixed background. It always has felt weird, black or white. But I think if you come from a place of like curiosity, like, oh, like I'm just curious. I'm interested in knowing, like, what's your background? Like, what is your racial makeup, if you don't mind me asking? Like, giving it permission that if you do mind me asking, I'll back up and you don't have to answer. But I think that feels more well-mannered than maybe, what are you?
Yeah.
So, you know, I think race in general, and this is why I was like, all right, let's do the biracial episode, just needs to be talked about more openly. So, I shouldn't be so uncomfortable talking about the biracial experience because America hasn't taught me that it's okay or we can freely do it in a safe way, because race has never been safe for black individuals.
Right. Or apparently
mixed,
biracial individuals.
Or mixed individuals, or Hispanic. Let's just be real.
Right. Because America, though it's the country that we're a part of, has not been safe. Like, and people don't really want to have that conversation, but the truth is, it's not safe. If you are a person of color, we have experienced some things, and so we hear a lot of things, and you know, there's going to be pushback, but I'm okay with it.
I just thought about something.
Tell me.
I just had a thought. If a white person asked me, what are you? I think I would just ask them, what are you? I would ask it back. Well, what are you? Like, what do you mean, right, in that way? Because I guess where I'm coming from with that is the question is trying to center whiteness. Like, whiteness is the standard. And if I know who I am as a white individual, you are other. And so it's like, let me put that back on you, because at this point in time, you know, the white community, they're not going to be the majority eventually. So we got to start breaking that down and dissecting the pieces so that they don't feel so centered in this way.
Is it the same? I'm considering this while you're speaking. Is it the same, what are you, or what is your ethnic background? Does it matter how it's phrased?
Well, what are you? Yeah, that's utterly disrespectful. What are you? Because
a transition.
Am I a dog? Am I an alien? Like, what do you mean?
I'm going straight stupid.
I like that.
I'm a Honda. What are you? I'm a Toyota.
It's disrespectful. It's dehumanizing, right?
Right.
I think it is helpful to go the extra mile and say, what is your background? But I always go back, do you mind? Yeah. Or, you know, if, like, is that okay that I'm asking this? I don't mean to be rude. I'm curious. Let me know what your intention is behind this, essentially, so that I don't think you're just being nosy and trying to other me again.
Oh, what? What are you? Like,
I thought you were going to pull my hair. I was like, fix my hair.
I was disrespecting and dehumanizing you. Just reaching out, touching, and treating you like the
that I'm entitled to know your background. Because, I mean, what good is it going to do for you to know that?
Period. Like, it does me no good when I see this person. But at the same time, I also want to communicate, I see you. I see we're different. And I want to, like, honor our differences. And I want to know who you are.
So totally off the cuff, but something coming up for me right now is like, who of the biracial people in front of us and the celebrityhood and all that stuff, who's considered black, who's considered mixed, who's considered white? I mean, if I'm naming some people that people kind of mix up for me, I think of Mariah Carey. That girl is very pasty. Look, my legs are pasty right now. I ain't getting no sun. But, like, she's really pasty, and I don't know if half the people realize she's black, white, biracial.
Right.
Probably not. Barack Obama. I rarely hear people say, our biracial president.
Not never.
Absolutely not.
Negativity.
He is our first black president. And I'm like, it must be nice to just be something. Except, does he identify as just the first black president? Who asked Obama what he is to America?
That's a great president, Barack Obama.
Can somebody call him up?
If you're listening, Michelle, my sister, I love you. If you're listening, has anybody asked former president, he's going to always be president, Barack Obama, what he identifies as? I would love to know that straight from his. You can come and talk to Shelby and I on the Lounge and Learn podcast. We would be so excited.
Yeah.
However,
who asked him? Who asked him?
I really want to know.
Right? Let's talk Meghan Markle, since we're going up in the royalties and things like that. Meghan Markle, I think, was seen as our first black princess. Yeah. And yet people were so disappointed in her for not doing certain things or for straightening her hair. Ma'am,
which is already straight.
We could do
I'm just saying her hair is straight.
Her hair is naturally curly.
Is it? I've never seen
it. Yeah, her hair is naturally curly.
I don't think I've ever seen it curly. I thought it was straight. Because at the end of the day, it could be whatever it is.
It can't, exactly. So we have the freedom to do that. But then it's people putting you in boxes. Well, she straightens her hair. She wants to be white. Ma'am, sir, she's black and white, and that's what she is always identified as. Mm-hmm. But she could be our first black princess as long as the people label it that, right? But then, that's frustrating.
But then inside the culture, then there was a lot of pushback and kickback on her because then she wasn't black enough and she wasn't all the things. So it has to be difficult, which is why I said I fully expect the people to empathize with you. Like, I think it's a necessity. I think, how do you want people to empathize with you and you can't empathize with others?
Yeah.
So I don't need for my child to be the child that goes missing to empathize with the child that goes, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And you got the people that show up for the calls when it's theirs. And so at the end of the day, if you want me to respect your cause, respect somebody else.
Amen. Yes, take note, y'all.
I'll take an offering.
So this other piece about being biracial is there's a lot of stereotypes about, well, which parent was black? Because that matters, right? You got a black mama, that's going to be different than if you have a black daddy. You're going to do things different. So I wondered if you've seen that a bit.
I've seen that a lot in and out of the therapy room. Like, I have biracial cousins, like, who are Latin and black. But at the end of the day, you see a lot of identity confusion. I think I see identity confusion when either parent has identity is in their own identity crisis. So if one of the parents is not ascribed to their own cultural experience,
not in touch,
then I will see issues with that child.
Okay.
With that side, whether it's black, white, Latin, or otherwise. If I have a black and Latin set of parents and the Latin parent is not in touch, then you have a child growing up black. But there's a whole Latin side here and vice versa. Like, it's all the things. And so whichever parent is detached. And so I've seen that. And when it breaks my heart, it's when it's black, white, biracial, because of all of the racial strife, that becomes harder when I watch young black people attempting to navigate the world when they're filled with negative messages about themselves, self-hate. They're sitting in crowds that are beneath them, where they're being demeaned, and they're not even aware yet. And so now here I am having to kind of guide in my office and expose, and it's hurtful when they say stuff and I go, your friend said that? That's not very friendly. Yeah. Like, even in Bel Air,
I didn't.
You've never seen Bel Air?
Nope.
Bel Air, Carlton is, both parents are black.
Yep.
But Carlton is very...
shows up a certain way.
He shows up extremely... what would be that best way to describe that?
It's not proper. It's not.
No, because I'm trying to go to, like, society-wise. It's a space in society. This is a very affluent, wealthy. It's just gonna look different.
I know Carlton because I haven't seen that, but I know how Carlton shows up.
So he shows up really different, and he's doing all the things that his white, rich counterparts are doing. And so it's fine when his white friends are calling people the N-word and saying the N-word, and And when Will shows up, he's like, bro, what are you doing? He's like, it's fine. But it's not fine.
Yeah, but you're trying so hard to fit in, and so you let things slide, or you
don't even know that it's not okay.
So is this actually a biracial issue, or is this a identity crisis that anybody can experience?
I think it could be either. I think it has to depend on the parents. So I'm not going to minimize and make the fictional character Carlton story Shelby's story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So she has her very valid experience, as do many. And so when I've had the people, like I said, so mom is white and dad is black. If dad is detached from the culture and mom is fully engrossed in her culture without an attempt to help this child understand their culture, now this child is going to grow up like as simple things as like hair. You know, we talk about hair.
Yep.
If you want to hear it in detail, listen to the entire season. But if I grew up with a white mom, I don't have a model of a mother putting a bonnet on at night or tying her hair down with a scarf. And so when my hair is unruly and I'm doing all the things and mom is frustrated because she's wasting money and I'm frustrated because I don't know what to do, there's no exposure.
Yeah, I agree that like it's very easy for a biracial kid to get lost when there's no digging or work from the parents, right? Yeah. So I'll speak to my very personal experience. My mother is white and my father is black. And I would say both of them are pretty immersed in their cultures, right? They're separate. And white people do have a culture. Let's just call it what it is. So they're very immersed in their cultures and connected to family. But I know for me, my mom has kind of taken a hands-off approach in talking about race. Like, we know the things, like she's never like spoke against anything. Like, she'll see the things in the news and be like, that's messed up or whatever, right? But my dad has a very he wouldn't agree with this, but he has a way of showing up and sometimes being very angry towards white people. And I think that's very trauma-based for him. So he'll make comments on the news that are probably like inappropriate, like, you know, for me to hear as a biracial child, and he'll gear it maybe towards my mom or things like that. Then you got your children who are biracial hearing this and it's like, well, what am I supposed to make out of the other half of me?
Absolutely.
How do I figure that out for myself?
How does that hit my confidence,
right,
my self-esteem?
How do I show up? Does daddy accept me? Because I'm half white and he's talking about these white folks like that, right?
Does daddy even see my whiteness?
He sees it when I can't dance. So like if I'm not dancing well, or you know there's something that's not coordinating right, or sometimes I talk a certain way, and he'll be like, oh, that's the white side of you, or that you're such a white girl, or whatever that is. And that's like, dude, you supposed to be my foundation. And I'm not just going to come for my dad, my black side, because my white side has made mistakes too, right? And they are the most loving people, and they still are flawed. And so as I've been raised by these individuals, you know, comments will be made like, ooh, why do you talk like that? You talking real black. Don't you want to talk like you're more educated? And it's like, oh, and like nobody, they don't say that around my dad though. They know better.
Because he gonna come for him.
Exactly. So they know better around dad, but other comments about, you know, your hair, or if you wear, you know, your braids a certain way, they're confused by the braids, they're touching your hair and making the comments, and you just feel like an animal. You feel like an animal sometimes.
And your family.
And you're still loved. So how do you break that down where you're confused between the love you get that feels unconditional until you're picked at like a pet? It's hard.
I can imagine.
And so I just recommend that if you are a parent of a biracial individual, or you know individuals who might be going through these things, you're just very intentional about talking about both parts of their racial concerns and open up the floor for them to just be honest about what they experience. It's big.
This transfers in, and I'm going to tap it and run back over here. I recall, because this one is about adoption.
Okay.
And a white parent adopted a black kid, and they were talking about they went to this really loving church, and they had their first child, and I think they adopted this white child, and this child's loved, and then they adopted the black child. And how the community was very different. And it was some article, and if I looked for it, I could find it. But she talked about, I didn't realize I went to church with a bunch of racists until I
I'm sure you
adopted
did
my black baby.
Yeah.
And just all of the things that she intentionally did to protect that child. And so if whether I adopt the child and it's fully black, or I'm of one ethnic background and my partner's of another, we have to be there, do our due diligence to make sure that we're infusing our children. How do your mom and dad show up for you when the parents or the family members external family members are making faux pas?
Usually they're not around. Right, so these are like people who you go spend the night or you're hanging out with individually, and the comments will come up. Sometimes if for whatever reason my dad would be around, I'm trying to think of a time where that would happen, it would become like a very political talk, or it would get uncomfortable and you would feel the tension in the room, and then we would move on. But I think my dad's quick to set a boundary, but they're careful to monitor themselves around him.
So when he wasn't around, would you tell him what happened?
No, probably not. Because, again, you're confused by the amount of love you receive from them, and you so enjoy hanging out with them. If I tell my dad this and now there's tension, he's going to let me go back.
Over.
Right. So now you just kind of learn to navigate that. I think as I got older, you learn to challenge those comments. Well, what do you mean by, more educated?
Knowing that, how do you do it, or would you do it any differently with your children?
Oh, absolutely. I think it has even trickled down. Do you mean like in terms of confronting the issues? It has trickled down even to my own siblings. My confidence about race and me dissecting, me challenging my parents if they make a strange comment. My siblings are now speaking up if an auntie or cousin makes a comment. And I'm like, oh, yes, that's good. That's good. Because they saw me learn to do it. And I feel like it only came when I went off to Mizzou, a school that highlighted race for me, and I had to be more informed to correct these people, my loved ones, right? Something that you said is blaring to me, this idea of color blindness. And this is not just in particular to the biracial experience, but I think about white mothers and saying, yeah, my kid is black, but I just love them as a human. I hear that, I don't know if you hear it, but I've heard it, and how harmful it actually is. Even though the intentions are good, I treat everybody the same. Absolutely. I don't see race, I don't see differences. You're hurting your kid because at the end of the day, their experiences are very different from yours.
Absolutely.
So in terms of immersing your child into the society that race actually plays a part, I would encourage parents to get books that include kids that look like your kid and your family, right? I would recommend that these parents go out into the community, get involved in some type of leagues or activities that include different diverse groups and things like that. Go to diverse churches. We've seen that where they take them to a very white church and it's like nobody looks like them. And so get involved. If you love your black kid or your biracial kid so much, go get involved in the black community.
Absolutely. And if you don't want to be involved in the black community, why are you involved with a black person? But that's another.
Oh, because it's cool. Black culture is just cool.
So can I push us to beauty standards?
Go for it.
Because you're mixed and you got that good hair and you light skinned.
Child.
And
how do you know?
How do
you know I have good hair?
Pretty because you're light.
No, because I'm mixed, and we just
mixed.
all
mixed kids are so cute.
They're so pretty. I promise y'all, there are some unattractive biracial people. Just like there's unattractive black folks, dark-skinned folks, light-skinned white folks. Like we have the full spectrum, and I'm not the type to call ugly. I know you are, but I'm not gonna call nobody ugly. But we all look different, and we have certain and we are no different than any other race in that way.
What? You have ugly people too?
I mean, maybe not as many. No, I'm just kidding.
I cannot.
But the good hair argument, it's just as frustrating to us as I think it is to our black or dark-skinned sisters in that way too. We have the full spectrum of all of those pieces. So I hate that. Just because we're biracial does not make us cute. And I promise you the attitudes are the same in the spectrum.
Who said that? If you're ugly inside,
Yeah.
you're ugly outside. It was on one of them movies. Was that Color Purple? I don't remember.
That sounds pretty.
Help
that
me
sounds
out.
pretty much
Come on,
like
listeners,
that.
tell me what was that? Like, you ugly inside. I don't know. It could have been, but I just hear old girl from Miss.
We on a mental health level. Sorry to cut you off. On the mental health level, we do need to talk about if you are not included and embraced for what you claim to be in terms of, or feel to be, or know yourself to be in terms of racial identity. What are the effects of that?
Oh my gosh.
Mentally.
Again, that it wrecks my self-esteem, it wrecks my confidence. If I'm not accepted, now I'm depressed or struggling with anxiety disorders or bulimia or anorexia, like all kinds of eating disorders and anxiety disorders or mood disorders, like any and all of those things. Cutting, like people just start trying to find ways to cope.
Yep.
Because I don't fit in. And so now I isolate, and now I don't have any friends. And so now I socially withdraw, because I'm not accepted anywhere. I hear that a lot, like the black church doesn't want me and the white church doesn't want. I'm not black enough for the black church. I'm not white enough for the white church. And it just, I just imagine it can't be simple. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's very ignorant to minimize people down to, well, you're biracial, so what do you have to cry about? Like that happened, and I'm gonna call my cousin out. I'm not gonna say his name.
You know who you are.
But you know who you are. Because he had a very, very, very strong feelings about Meghan Markle.
Okay. And
how she should have known better. And like, what has she done for black people? And my challenge to the black man that was challenging this biracial woman, my question was, what have you done for the black people?
Well,
please don't come holler about what she didn't do.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing? And so if you're not out here riding on front lines and fighting, how dare you? Her road, her trajectory, all the things are not your things. That's so I don't get to say, well, Shelby, what you doing for the black people? What are you doing, period? What are you doing with your life?
Yikes. That's a good call out.
Just saying.
Yeah. Meghan Markle, I mean, I feel like that thing is so complex.
It is.
And, I think from what I understand in her background, she has been very big in advocacy work.
Absolutely.
For women, feminism, the black community. Her mother was very active as well. I think as a social worker. So
absolutely.
She has been immersed in all the pieces, and yet we still look to her as if she's not black enough. What?
Because at the end of the day, people are ignorant.
Yeah. I just want to know why everybody's so concerned about where we fit in as biracial individuals.
You want me to read it?
Why does it? Yeah, I want the real answer. Keep it real. Why?
People stupid.
Is that simple?
Because at the end of the day, yeah. Like, life is lifing out here. You understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to hang on to my marriage, hang on to my job, hang on to my house, do this ministry that God has called me to do. I don't have time to get into your, you know what I'm saying? Why Shelby get to wear her hair however? That's stupid. And so if that's where your focus is, I'm going to call you to think higher, be higher, do better. Just do better.
So is it insecurity? I'm listening to this very closely. So is it more insecurity within self? Like, I'm frustrated, I can't do certain things with my hair or whatever. I can't live a certain way, so I'm going to jump on other people. Is it a sense of control? I feel like it's deeper than what, if they're not just stupid, there's something missing.
Did I say stupid?
She said stupid. Oh.
Fine.
Because they're stupid. And
because it's
something's
stupid,
missing.
or they say something stupid. But yes, I would agree with that. I think ignorance is one thing. Ignorant and stupid are not the same.
No.
Ignorant is a lack of awareness. So when you hear us say ignorant,
Correct.
We're not calling people stupid. When I'm calling people stupid, sometimes I'm joking and sometimes I'm not, whatever. Watch my face, you might be able to tell, maybe. However, some it's ignorance, like I don't know any better, so I don't do any better. And I grow up hearing ignorance, right?
Yeah.
And so I spout ignorance. And we see that. I see that all the time in the office with younger people spouting off the things that they've heard their parents say. They haven't formed their own identity yet. So I think it's ignorance. That's certainly one thing. And then maybe a fear, what I don't know, what I don't understand, I attack some people.
You know what's heartbreaking about this entire conversation? And I even hate that it has to be a conversation, right? Let me just be clear. I think what's heartbreaking is I know that this didn't just stem from us. As a Black community. Like, it's very obvious that this has been passed down through the fabrics and inner threadings of America, and making sure that Black folks come against each other.
I would agree
and I
with
go
that.
right back to what I talked about at the very beginning of our house slaves versus our field slaves.
Yeah. Who
So
started separating.
and we continue to embrace it with these ignorant comments or putting energy into something that just, it matters, but it doesn't. It's not your business to worry about how I identify and how I'm going to show up in the world.
It's my business, and I cut you off on purpose. It's my business to make sure that you have the freedom to identify how you show up in the world.
Amen, sis.
So that's what my business is, not to tell you who you are.
Right.
Like, my name is Lasaundra. You don't get to give me a name that I don't accept. So you can say, hey, let me call you Lala. And I'll be like, sure, you can call me Lala. But if you say, hey, Lala, and I go, ooh, please don't call me Lala, I really don't like it. That's my right. I have the right to tell you what I don't like. I also have the right to walk up to you and go, hey, I'm Lala. I'm a Black woman. Hey, I'm Lala.
Yeah.
I'm Puerto Rican. Now, you might look at me and go, she don't look Puerto Rican. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But if
yeah.
I walk up and I tell you I'm Puerto Rican, you don't know what's in my history.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? However, I'm not Puerto Rican. I'm just black, you know, blackity black.
She
black.
just
I'm
playing
blackity
today.
black.
Oh,
Because
gosh.
I'm black, y'all. And I'm black,
So
y'all.
question, can I say all that?
Because I'm black, y'all.
I just get frustrated that we are still having the conversation,
Girl.
right? Like, that, it comes back to that. There's so many other amazing things we could be focusing on in the world. Stop belittling this to putting me in categories. That's for my Black folks and my white folks.
Because I was about to say, when you said that, I giggle because it's like, they're like, oh God, this conversation again. I'm sick of talking about this. Imagine being us. I'm tired of having to have these conversations.
Yeah.
But stay tuned to Lounge, Lift, Learn, where we'll continue to have all these conversations and more.
Oh, you sound
Did I sound
good.
really like...
You sound so good as an infomercial, doesn't she? But essentially, at the end of the day, we are pointing to check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's it. Check yourself, check your biases, check all the pieces so that you don't have to sit here and waste energy on things that don't mind you. Like, we don't need to focus on that.
Be an ally.
Be an ally.
Be a
Lasaundra
supporter.
stood up for me today. She really stood in the gaps. She did a great job of modeling that behavior, and I hope that you guys took notes from how she did that, creating space to allow me to, vent and put out my experiences so we can learn and we can do better.
And my push, my encouragement, and the last thing I want to say about this, I don't know if you have more, is go and continue this conversation. Again, we are having conversations that uplift and inspire you to go and continue the conversation. So go sit in your circles, Black, white, or otherwise. Yes. How do I do better? That is my tag for this whole do better.
That's it.
But thanks for listening.
As always.
Like, subscribe, and share.
Bye.